There is a moment, fleeting, almost imperceptible, when the world as you know it flickers. It happens in the silence between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, in the way shadows stretch just a little too long at dusk. Most dismiss it as imagination, a trick of the light, a glitch in perception. But what if it wasn't? What if that flicker was the universe itself whispering to you, pulling back the curtain ever so slightly, revealing that the stage you stand upon is not what it seems? We live inside a story, one so deeply ingrained in our senses that questioning it feels like madness. From the moment we are born, we are handed a script, roles to play, rules to follow, definitions of what is real and what is illusion. We are taught to chase, to consume, to conform, to measure our worth in numbers and possessions, to believe that the boundaries of our existence are fixed by the limits of our five senses. But what if the greatest trick ever played on humanity was convincing us that this is all there is? The lie is so vast, so meticulously constructed, that seeing through it requires more than skepticism. It demands a kind of unlearning, a shedding of the myths we've been conditioned to accept as truth. It asks us to consider that reality is not a fixed, external phenomenon, but a dynamic interplay of perception, energy, and hidden architecture. Some have called it the Matrix, a grand illusion woven from collective belief, a system designed to keep us asleep, distracted, and enslaved by our own unawareness. But awakening is not about escaping to some distant, enlightened realm. It is about recognizing the prison while still inside it. It is about seeing the strings that move us, the narratives that shape us, the fear that binds us. And once seen, these illusions lose their power. The walls of the maze become transparent, and what was once inescapable is revealed as nothing more than a thought form, a shared hallucination we can dismantle by sheer awareness. This is not a call to arms, but a call to eyes wide open presence. The most dangerous thing to any system of control is not rebellion, but seeing. Because when you see the lie for what it is, you can no longer be its prisoner. You begin to notice the synchronicities, the patterns, the way reality responds to your shifts in consciousness. You start to question why history repeats itself in cycles, why power structures manipulate through fear, why so much of what we call normal feels like a slow suffocation of the soul. The grandest illusion is the belief that you are a solitary fragment in a chaotic, indifferent universe. From birth, you are taught to see yourself as separate from others, from nature, from the cosmos itself. This is the foundational lie. Quantum physics whispers of entanglement. Ancient mystics spoke of the interconnected web of life, and yet, the modern world conditions you to believe in isolation. Competition, hierarchy, and division are not natural laws. They're constructs carefully engineered to keep you fighting shadows instead of realizing your true nature, that you are not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. Another pillar of the illusion is the tyranny of time, the relentless ticking clock that turns life into a countdown, a race against an imaginary finish line. But time is not linear. It is a mental construct, a way to impose order on the infinite. Indigenous cultures understood cyclical time. Mystics spoke of eternal now. And yet, the modern world runs on artificial scarcity. Hurry, produce, consume before it's too late. But what if time is not your master, but a tool? What if the past and future are merely reflections in the mirror of the present moment? Fear is the currency of control. It is broadcast through media, encoded in education, reinforced through social structures. Fear of lack, fear of rejection, fear of death. These are the chains that keep humanity docile. But fear is not reality. It is a program, a vibration that hijacks your energy. The moment you recognize this, you begin to see how wars, economic collapses, and societal divisions are not accidents, but manipulations, distractions to keep you from realizing your true power. You are told you are free, yet every choice you make is filtered through a maze of conditioned beliefs. From the food you eat to the gods you worship, from the careers you chase to the love you think you deserve, how much of it is truly yours? The Matrix does not need to force you. It simply limits your imagination of what is possible. Real freedom begins when you question not just your options, but who designed the menu in the first place. Reality speaks in symbols. Beneath the surface of ordinary perception, there exists a layer of meaning, ancient, archetypal, and alive with intelligence. To truly grasp the nature of the Matrix, we must learn to read these hidden patterns, for they reveal what the logical mind cannot comprehend. These are not mere stories. They are mirrors, reflecting back the deeper truths of existence itself. Imagine a bird born inside a gilded cage. The bars are polished, the perch is comfortable, and the door is wide open. Yet the bird does not fly. It has been told since birth that the cage is the world, that freedom is a myth, that the sky beyond is an illusion. One day, a gust of wind rattles the cage, and for the first time, the bird hesitates. What if the stories were wrong? But the moment it considers flight, fear whispers, what if you fall? What if the sky is not real? What if you are not meant to fly? This is the human condition. The Matrix is not a physical prison. It is a psychological one, reinforced by the stories we inherit. The cage is comfortable because it is familiar. The door is open, but we have forgotten how to recognize it. There is a tale of a kingdom where all the architects were blind. They designed towering structures, intricate palaces, and sprawling cities. Yet none had ever seen light. They passed down blueprints through generations, each builder adding new layers, convinced their creations were magnificent. One day, a child who could see wandered into the kingdom and asked, "Why have you built in total darkness?" The architect scoffed, "Darkness? There is no such thing as light." This is the nature of inherited belief systems. Religions, governments, scientific paradigms, they're often built by those who have never questioned their own blindness. The Matrix sustains itself not through force, but through the unexamined repetition of its own myths. A seeker once stood at the confluence of two rivers. One was clear and still, reflecting the sky perfectly. The other was turbulent, muddy, roaring with chaos. A sage approached and said, "The first river is the world of appearances, orderly, predictable, but lifeless. The second is the world of truth, wild, uncontrollable, but alive." Most spend their lives staring into the first river, mistaking its reflection for reality. But only by diving into the second will you ever know what is real. The Matrix is the still river, the illusion of stability, the false comfort of the known. Awakening is the choice to embrace the chaos of truth, where reality is fluid and alive. In an ancient city, there was a door that no one could open. Scholars studied its inscriptions. Engineers analyzed its mechanisms, but it remained sealed. Centuries passed until a child, unnoticed by the crowds, pressed a single finger against the door, and it swung open effortlessly. The lock had never been real. The only barrier was the collective belief that it was impenetrable. This is the secret of the Matrix. Its power lies in our belief in its solidity. The moment we realize the lock was never there, the door becomes irrelevant. A man spent his life staring into a mirror, convinced it showed him the truth. One day, a flame was held beside the glass, and for the first time, he saw not just his reflection, but the fire distorting it. He had never questioned the mirror's accuracy until he saw how easily it could be manipulated. The Matrix is the mirror. The flame is awareness. Once you see how reality bends under influence, you can no longer trust the reflection. These stories are not fantasies. They are maps, guiding you toward the cracks in the illusion. Awakening is not an abstract revelation. It is a revolution in how you move through the world. To see through the Matrix is one thing. To live beyond its rules is another. This is where philosophy becomes action, where insight transforms into power. The system thrives on your passive participation. So the most radical act is to withdraw your consent, not through violent rebellion, but through conscious reclamation of your energy, attention, and belief. Every moment, you are feeding the Matrix with your focus. The news cycle, social media, the endless chase for validation, these are not neutral arenas. They are harvesting machines designed to fragment your awareness and keep you trapped in reactive loops. The first practical step is ruthless sovereignty over your attention. Ask, does this thought, this interaction, this habit expand my energy or drain it? Like a gardener tending sacred soil, you must protect what you allow to take root in your mind. Meditation, digital fasting, and intentional silence are not spiritual luxuries. They are acts of resistance. Money is not the real economy. Energy is. The system convinces you to trade your life force for scraps. 40-hour work weeks, soul-numbing routines, the constant pressure to produce and consume. But time is the only non-renewable resource. And the Matrix profits by keeping you too exhausted to question the exchange. The solution is not to reject money, but to reject the identification of money with worth. Start investing in energy-generating practices, skills that liberate rather than enslave, relationships that nourish rather than deplete, work that aligns with purpose rather than survival. The more you value your energy, the less the system can extract from you. Words are spells. The Matrix controls perception by controlling definitions. Freedom means security theater. Success means perpetual striving. Love means attachment with conditions. To break the trance, you must reclaim language. Speak with precision. Refuse hollow narratives. When someone says, "That's just the way the world works," ask, "Says who?" The moment you articulate the unspoken rules, they lose their power. You do not need to overthrow governments to dismantle the Matrix. The most potent disruptions are subtle, creating rather than consuming, questioning rather than complying, trusting intuition over institutional authority, choosing presence over productivity. These are quiet revolutions, but their cumulative effect is seismic. A system built on mass hypnosis cannot survive mass awakening. The Matrix wants you to believe in randomness, that life is a series of accidents, that meaning is a human invention. But as you awaken, you'll notice the universe responding to your shifts in consciousness. Synchronicities, those inexplicable alignments of events, are not coincidences. They're confirmation that you're operating outside programmed reality. Start tracking them. Follow their breadcrumbs. They are the universe's way of whispering, "You're on the right path." No one wakes up alone. The Matrix isolates because fragmented individuals are easier to control. Seek those who see beyond the veil, not to form a new dogma, but to create spaces where authenticity is possible. These connections become sanctuaries, reminding you that you're not crazy for questioning the illusion. The greatest prison is not made of walls, but of unquestioned assumptions. The Matrix's most brilliant deception is convincing humanity that resistance requires grand gestures, violent uprisings, political coups, mass movements. But true revolution begins in the silent spaces between thoughts, in the moments you choose awareness over automation. This is not an ending, but a threshold. The question is no longer, is the Matrix real, but what will you do now that you see it? You are being called, not by some external savior, but by the part of you that never forgot the truth. It speaks in the quiet dissatisfaction with superficial living, in the inexplicable longing for something more, in the dreams that feel more real than waking life. This is not a flaw to remedy, but a homing signal to follow. The path is not linear. There will be days the veil thickens, days you question your sanity, days the world seems determined to drag you back into sleep. But each moment of clarity is irreversible. You cannot unsee what has been seen. Awakening is not selfish. Every time you choose presence over programming, you create a crack in a collective trance. Your energy shifts, and so does the field around you. People you've never met will benefit from your courage to live authentically, though you may never know it. This is how systems fall, not with a bang, but with a million quiet defections from the illusion. The last and most insidious lie is that enlightenment is a distant finish line, reserved for saints and sages. The truth? You are already free. The Matrix's final trick is making you believe you're still trapped. The moment you realize the cage was never locked, the struggle ends. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Now, the choice is yours. This is your moment of initiation. You can close this text and return to the familiar hum of the machine, or you can take the red pill and let it dissolve in your bloodstream forever. There is no middle ground, not because one path is better, but because once you know the truth, pretending becomes a kind of violence against yourself and against the world waiting for you to wake up. The revolution will not be televised. It will be lived in your breath, in your silence, in your refusal to play by invisible rules. The Matrix fears only one thing, that you'll remember who you really are. So will you?